Program advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Heiar Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands. Welcome in, everybody, to Taking Care of Business on a Friday, and we know, of course, what that means. That means Senior Solutions, and that means we've got Matt Heiar in the house. Matt, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It's beautiful today.
It is a beautiful day out. We've had a couple cold, kind of rainy days, sprinkly. Today, I heard we're going to get into the 70s, which is nice. We got football tonight, which I'm a big fan of high school football.
Big game tonight against
huge game.
Plymouth, it is?
Yeah, Plymouth. Yep. Yeah, right here at home. So should be good. I'll be out there on camera. Wade Bates, Tim Ladrin, and Wally Lukashinsky out there as well. Apparently, we're hoping the Pizza Pirates are going to bless us with a little extra tonight.
Okay.
According to Wade. I guess they've been bringing pizza and wings. And we're like, well, if we're going to bring pizza and wings, we might as well throw in garlic cheesy bread, right? So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But yeah, it should be a great game. Looking forward to being out there for that. Of course, we can't talk sports if we don't take at least a brief moment to talk about the Brew Crew and what they've got going on.
I know. Normally I'd be wearing my Brewer shirt, but maybe I'm just jinxing it, so I'm just letting it go. And like Christian Yelich said, he's like, hey, let's just get it back to Milwaukee. Yeah. So that's the goal. We got to win 2 games.
That's it. Just win 2, get it back home, do what you got to do. So I'm optimistic. Bat's got to get hot. Pitching's got to stay on point. And as I heard earlier, Mike Monheim from the market said, they also got to get the Dodgers pitcher off the mound as soon as possible.
Yeah, and we ended up doing that last week or yesterday, but I'm just checking quick who they're not decided on their pitcher yet. So that's the scary part, because if we see that same pitcher that oh no, it's Shohei.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. We got a Packer game this weekend as well.
Yes.
Everything I've heard says it should be an easy win for us, but we know how that goes. Apparently, those easy wins, we don't like to show up.
I think there was a Browns game that we thought it was going to be an easy win.
Yeah. I remember how that went down.
Yes.
So hopefully we fare much better this time, and fingers crossed. Something we can probably talk about next week, although I won't be here with you next week. I'm off next week, so I'll be here with Wade.
All right.
I apologize in advance.
Okay.
But it should be a great show. But boy, oh boy, you know what I'm going to talk to you about.
I know.
Because we're, 2 days in now to the busy season?
Yep.
And for those who don't know, that annual election enrollment period is coming up. Or I should say it's here.
Oh, we're live right now.
Yeah, through December 7th.
Yep.
And this is a big one. So when you've been talking to people about you're going to get those benefit change information coming your way. You've already seen a bunch of them. How has the process been so far?
It's going pretty well. I mean, we just got such a great system down with our team. So, but basically the routine that we're doing right now is if you call, because a lot of people call and say, hey, can I schedule an appointment to look at my drug plan or my Advantage plan? And basically we're kind of screening the calls because there's a lot of prep work we have to do prior to even meeting you. And since we've condensed these appointments to, 30-minute appointments, it's hard for me to run all your medications live right in front of you and then look at the plans and evaluate which one's the best. So what we're doing is you just call our office and say, run my meds. And then we try to get an updated list from you, make sure we have an account on Medicare.gov so we can go in and kind of evaluate them, and then we can pick certain plans. Because a lot of times we'll call you and say, actually, do nothing. You're on the best plan for next year. So we don't even have to meet, which is a good thing. But if we still want to meet, we just have to do it after the annual election period. We can tell you your copays, or I can do a phone appointment where I can kind of just quick talk to you for 15 minutes and just kind of explain your copays. But yeah, but those are my favorite phone calls this year. So is do nothing, and then everyone's pretty happy, and it just gives you peace of mind moving forward for 2026.
There you go. And if you want to kind of start that process or get in on it, make that initial phone call, 920-887-0580 to reach out there and get a hold of the superstars in the office, and they'll be more than happy to kind of get that process started. Normally, and I don't know if you guys change it for this time period of the year, so I'm going to ask, normally your guys' hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to noon, 1 to 5.
Yep.
Is that still the same now? Are you guys able to schedule within that time frame window, or are you having to book a little bit outside?
Yeah, it's it is pretty fluid situation. Some people can only meet on Saturdays, or or they might only be able to meet later. So luckily, we work with a lot of retired people. So they're like, "Oh, any day works for me," and that makes me jealous. I really want to have that feeling where it's
Someday.
like, "Yeah, any day of the week is fine with me." But yeah, it's so that is subject to change. Like, I think I missed lunch a couple days this week, so we weren't closed over the lunch hour. But yes, we just want to. Typically, we are closed over the lunch hour, so I just don't want anyone coming, because that's when people will drop things off.
Oh,
And they'll be
yeah.
like, "You guys were closed." Well, we weren't closed, but technically for that hour, we were closed.
Right.
So yes, just if you're going to drop something off, drop it off in the morning, or just anytime after 1.
Okay, makes sense. I want to dive a little bit into kind of the process you guys are having to work through. So I want to start with the drug plan, because that's kind of the one I keep hearing people talk about. And I actually had somebody ask me the question, and I thought I knew the answer, and I kind of gave them what I thought the answer was. But then I said, I'll be sure to ask Matt. So you have your drug plan. You say, yep, it's the right one. It's the one you should stay on. And then 6 months from now, something changes, and they got to take a different medication they weren't expecting. That's not included in their drug plan. My guess is, well, unfortunately, it's not included, but maybe it will be next year, or you can find one that it will be next year. And then we've talked about like supplemental type things like Good RX or whatever that might be able to help you instead.
Yeah, and so there hasn't been a lot of changes. So every one of these drug plans has to cover at least three drugs in every drug class.
Oh,
So that's why, like, they might not cover this one, but they'll cover X, Y, and Z. So there is options for that. So we really aren't, but we're not seeing a lot of changes. Like if we had a name brand medication that was expensive last year, it's kind of the same situation. So we're not really seeing a lot of changes because we'll call people like, yeah, it's going to be this much, and they're like, oh yeah, just like last year. So it's pretty, like we don't know what's going to happen. But yes, that's a big question. People are like, well, what if I get on a drug that's, really expensive moving forward? And it doesn't mean they won't cover it. Are you on the most ideal plan? Maybe not,
Right.
but that's why we review these every year. So, because a lot of the drug plans have went to $0. 6 of the 10 of them have went to $0 a month. So people think that they're losing something because of that, and not really. It's just it's more work for these companies. Instead of paying $6, $7, $10 a month, to bill you every month, and with postage and hiring a third party,
Right.
to actually administer all that stuff. It's just they're making money on the drugs.
Right.
So drug deductibles went up to like $610, and everyone's like, "That's a lot." I'm like, "Well, this year is $590,"
Right.
and they're like, "It is." So drug deductibles are only subject to tier 3 drugs or higher. So, and that's why we implement Good RX for certain things, like say, for instance, like an ointment or a cream. Like, oh, I got a rash or I get psoriasis, and I get 1 tube of cream a year. So you're not, if we put that in your medication list and run it, it might pop up a different plan. So like if that retail cost of that cream was $100 a month,
Right.
that's a lot, but you only get 1 of them. So the retail costs $100. That means you have a $600 deductible. It's subject to the deductible. You're going to pay the full price. But if
Right.
we can find a Good RX coupon for $30, that's how we save it. And yes, it doesn't go towards our deductible, but we don't want to meet our deductible.
Right.
So it's just like little things like that. Had a lot of people going to Canada for some name brand drugs. They're worried about the tariffs, obviously.
Right.
Like, is that going to be more? Unfortunately, even if there's a tariff, it's still cheaper to get them from Canada for some of these drugs.
Right.
Which is hard to believe. So that's why that's a lot of the different planning we do. And some people don't want to do that. They're like, no, I want to just keep going to the same pharmacy I go to. What's it going to be? What's the bottom dollar? And that's basically what we do. We tell you, hey, if you're on these exact medications for all of next year, your total out of pocket with premium plus your drugs are X. And that's when people are like, okay, sounds good, sign me up. Or else they're like, okay, well, I'll just stick with what I got. And there isn't a right answer. It's you reviewed.
Right.
Like, yes, there is a better plan out there, but not really worth switching. And some people are like, no, I guess I'll just stick with it. I already got mail order set up with this company. I'm fine with it. Okay.
Right.
But there is a drug plan that did stop its service. Basically, they ended their contract.
Okay.
So if you get that letter saying, hey, you will not have drug coverage.
Which you should have gotten that letter by now.
Absolutely. Yep, we've already had people come in with it. We have to sign you up with something. So they extend your enrollment period a little bit longer. So you do have a little bit more time, but we need you to make sure you're checking your mail. I know everyone's getting a lot of mail, but at the same time, let's just make sure for next year that our drug plans, our advantage plans are still around. They're still going. We can still go to our doctors. And that is very, very crucial. We need you to do one thing. Just look at that mail and just check it out. And if everything's good to go or you don't see many drastic changes, do nothing.
There you go. And I'm glad you brought up the fact that, the coverage, 3 drugs in every class, which is great because sometimes they jump right to the name brand because it's what people know. And some people get comforted when they hear a name brand drug. But then you can always talk to your doctor and say, hey, that one's not actually covered. Is there another option? Is there another alternative? Because maybe they don't cover the name brand, but they cover generic or they cover the same thing under a different name or stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's another thing. I get a lot of calls like in January, February, March where they get a letter. Like, we run your meds. We're like, yep, this is what it's going to be. They're like, perfect. Sounds good. And then they get a letter saying, hey, we are no longer covering this medication. You could try X, Y, and Z. So, like, these are 1-year contracts, but for some reason they can change the contract.
Right.
In the middle
On
of
their end.
Yeah.
Right.
So, a lot of times I'm hearing you said that this is, and yes, I mean, then I say, well, the government website said that. But so then that's the options. They give you X, Y, and Z. They're like, hey, we'll give you one more fill of this. So they buy you time to, talk to your doctor, your healthcare provider, and just see what the best option is. And if you've tried those 3 drugs, they don't work for you, there is what we call a one-time exception where your doctor can write a note or give them a call and say, hey, we tried these, they're allergic to them, whatever it may be. And then they potentially could give you a one-time exception in the formulary where they will cover that drug just for you, not for everyone.
Right.
So we don't just have to panic and say, uh-oh, what do I do now? It's, there is certain options that we can do to, moving forward. But yes, that's one of the most frustrating parts is we find you the best plan, and then all of a sudden 6 months, 3 months, 4 months down the road, they're like, well, we're not going to cover that anymore.
I imagine with that exception that they do that, to let you continue to have it, that only extends till the end of that year's contract.
Correct.
So then you're definitely going to want to be looking for something else that does cover it.
Yeah, well, that's
that point.
And that's exactly it. This time of year is so confusing because people will call me in January, February, but like, I was paying 0 copay for this medication. Now I'm paying $5 a month. Why? It's a cheap medication, and I wish I could tell you.
Right.
Obviously, I know that company raised it from a tier 1 to a tier 2 potentially.
Right.
But it's, I wish I could tell you. They're just 1-year contracts, so. But that's why when we sort the 10 plans, when we type in your medications and we sort them by lowest premium plus copay.
Right.
So what will physically come out of your pocket for medications and your drug plan for next year? So that's why we don't really care if you're paying $0, $10, $100 a month, whatever is the cheapest out of pocket, that's what we go with.
There you go. I do want to let everybody know if you wanted to ask a question of Matt Heiar, you can definitely give us a call here. You can call 920-885-4446 or call or text us 920-887-9595. We do have Ashley up in the studio, more than happy to take those calls and texts when they come in. And then, maybe get your question answered a little bit sooner than having to book an appointment. Obviously, let's not do a full call here on the show, but if you got a basic question or something you want to ask and you're curious, feel free to give a call. I got to ask this. Obviously, the government shutdown is still in full force.
Of course.
Apparently, we can't seem to get together for a vote that moves anything along. Is that affecting anything you've got going on right now? Is it slowing any process up that you've noticed?
Well, it could be like right when we go on the government website, there is a disclaimer saying any changes with the plans might be delayed, because of government shutdown. There isn't typically a lot of changes, but there could be, and that's, a little scary. But yes, the government shutdown, of course, I don't know, they voted like Monday or Tuesday or something, and then they're like, yeah, we're not going to meet the rest of the week.
Yeah, which is great. I wish that worked for everything.
Yeah, but it's like someone's got to get them in a room and be like, all right, no one leaves until you guys figure it out.
Right.
You know, I mean, I have to do it with my kids sometimes, and I feel like Congress is just like kids. So it's like just get in there and figure it out. But yeah, it's frustrating. But a big thing that people have been calling lately is, you know, one of the debates right now is the tax credits
Right.
or the marketplace insurance.
Right. That Affordable Care Act
Yes.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, after the 2022 Inflation Reduction Act basically put on COVID tax credits, which just gave larger amounts of money of tax credit, which is great. It was excellent, but it was set to expire January of 26, which guess what? That's coming up.
Right.
So that's, you know, kind of on the chopping block where, you know, it was going to end anyway. That's what our training told us, you know, that basically they're going to go down 15 to 20% the tax credits. That's what they increased them during the Inflation Reduction Act. But a lot of people are calling and saying, hey, there's no tax credits. And I'm like, yes, there is. And they're like, no, we heard that there's no tax credit.
Right.
And there is.
Right.
It's just the extra tax credits, you know, the COVID tax credits are done. And so, yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions. They're working. Well, they're not working, but they're working on it, I guess we could say. So we don't know. But yes, you will still get a tax credit. It's just certain people now will not get a tax credit at some threshold.
Right.
And they said it's 400% above the poverty level. We don't know what that number is set until we get the numbers.
Right.
Just like the Medicare premiums, we don't know. Estimates are looking at like Medicare could go up like $21. So we're talking over $200 for Medicare. Yikes. That's
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been in this industry forever, but I just remember there were certain years where it froze at 135 or 140, you know, and
Right.
now we're just having these $15, $20, $25 jumps where I wonder what it's going to be in 10 years.
Have we ever, and you've been in the industry long enough to maybe know, have we ever actually seen Medicare costs go down?
Once. And it was because there was such a huge increase. So this was actually not too long ago. I can't remember. It's all a blur just because the time of year.
Right.
But yeah, there was like Medicare jumped more than it's ever jumped. And it was because of there's these Alzheimer's drugs that Medicare approved, which were ungodly amounts of money.
Right.
And then Medicare didn't even allow it or something like that. Something happened. And so they justified jumping it so much. And it didn't even, because of this medication, which they didn't even approve finally. So then the next year they dropped it, but it was pennies.
Right.
So it's not, nothing goes down obviously nowadays, right? I used to buy candy for a nickel.
Oh boy, those were the days.
Yeah. So have you ever seen how much a candy bar is?
Oh yeah. I thought about picking myself up a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup the other day, and I'm like, why is it almost $4 for a Reese's?
I could not believe that. I was like 3 something. I was like, it used to be like 2 for a dollar. And I know I'm sounding like, oh yeah, back in the day, but this wasn't back in the day. This was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's now becoming way too expensive to be a fat man. I'm just gonna say that.
Yes. Well, I mean, I just couldn't believe it. And so it's like, no kids, one, you get one. But yeah, so things are going up, and which they always do, but we just have to, you know, make that part of our budget. Like, okay, what is our income plan? What is Medicare going to be? So when people come in, you know, for Medicare plans, you start talking about $200 supplements, $200 Medicare, you know, we're at $400 per person. So that's potentially $800 for healthcare that we didn't plan on. Because once we retire, you know, it's like, well, I was only paying $100 every 2 weeks for both of us.
Right.
You know, well, we had an employer paying.
Right.
You know, and are we losing our dental? Are we losing our vision? So there's so much that goes into it where, you know, these advantage plans are getting competitive with that. But it all depends on affordability, comfort with the plan, and our health. You know, so that's why the marketing has started. You know, Joe Namath is on TV and all these different celebrities and commercials. And if you have questions about them, give us a call. Because I've had people just stop by. They're like, what are these things they're talking about, over-the-counter items? And, you know, and I was like, well, you'd have to change your health insurance then. And they're like, well, I don't want to do that. But they're not saying it's even health insurance. They're just saying, you know, there are supplements to Medicare. And just, you know, I heard changes in Medicare yesterday.
Right.
There's not changes in Medicare, or else that'd be front page news.
Right.
So it's buyer beware, just like anything. We didn't win the publishers clearing.
Right.
It's so, but
No Ed McMahon at our door.
yes, that was always so cool. But you got to sign up for it to win.
Yeah, right. It's like winning the lottery. If you don't play, you're not going to win.
Yes, but I can imagine what I'd spend the money on.
Same.
Yeah, so it's just a lot. A lot of the calls are like that. A lot of the calls are on Social Security and signing up for Medicare, and we're running into more problems. It is if we can't get that account, so we need you to attempt to get an account on Social Security's website. And if you don't have an email, we need, talk to the kids, talk to the grandkids, talk to someone that can just try to attempt it.
Right.
Because we're running into problems where we don't have as many appointments now. And if we try it and we don't get in, or we don't get an account set up, it's basically we got nothing.
Right.
And it's
you can't move forward until you have that set up.
yes, and that's where we run into problems. So what I've been having people do is call Social Security, set up an appointment to sign up for Medicare. Your 90 days prior, which is perfect. And that gets us going. And then try to set the account up. If you get it, we can sign you up. And then at the end of the application, it says, "Do you want to cancel your appointment, your phone call with Social Security?" And we just click yes. So, but at least we have a backup plan just in case, because there's times where it's like people have moved, so their address doesn't match their driver's license, or their name is Matt instead of Matthew, but the DMV has Matt, not Matthew, and it's getting frustrating. I mean, every time I sign up now, attempt to sign people up, the actual format, the platform of the website is changing. So the steps, and so I just plead with people. That's the biggest thing right away is if we're going to try to sign you up for Social Security, sign you up for Medicare, we need that account, because we're just getting stuck in certain things, and we can't do anything. And I feel helpless, and I feel bad, because I'm trying to advise you on what's the best options, but we have to take care of the government stuff first. And if we can't even start there, it's not even worth showing you plans until then, because the actual health insurance aspect, the drug plan aspect, I could sign you up the day before. I could sign you up December 31st for a January 1st start date.
Right.
I can control the insurance and get you temporary cards, policy numbers, but I cannot control the government stuff. Neither can the government, obviously.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
So, but that's a big deal, and why did they roll this out? 2 months before enrollment period? Who knows?
Right.
It was just another decision that they made. But regardless, it's here, it's staying, it's not changing. So this is just what we have to work with. So if you have an account, that is great. You can schedule an appointment. We can get things done, get the ball rolling. We'll sign you up right away. It takes 15 minutes. It takes longer to set the account up than it does to sign up for Medicare.
Right.
But I just feel comfortable signing you up for Medicare, because then you can yell at me if it's wrong. I'll take care of that, or Social Security. It's just then I'll give you some literature on your different options of insurance. We're not making decisions that day, and we can, you can look it over, write some questions down, come back, we'll talk about it again, go over it again. But yeah, this has been the most frustrating part, is the Social Security's website.
It almost, I think, kind of behooves people, if you're getting in your 50s or whatever, and you think retirement's going to be in your future the next 10, 15 years, maybe get your sign up done now.
Yes.
I've already got mine done, and I'm going to be a whopping 42 in a couple of days. And so, it doesn't hurt to have it ahead of time.
Oh, absolutely. And I just met with someone yesterday, the day before, and they're like, "Yeah, no, you set that account up for us." And then I look in the folder, and it's the old version. It's just the username and password.
Right.
So it's not the new login.gov. And effective January 1st of 25, they said the username and passwords don't work. So we're basically starting over anyway.
Right.
So, but yeah, you need an email, you need a smartphone, you need, and I ran into another situation. A husband and wife share an email. You can't. We need separate emails. And then if we create you an email right away, they're going to kick it back, because they can't verify it's you, because that's just a brand new email on the same day that you're trying to set it up.
Right.
It's AI. So if the computer's program or system doesn't think it works, it's all an algorithm, and they just kick it out, and then we're stuck.
Right.
So
it's confusing. I know I recently talked to somebody about how they get security questions that'll pop up sometimes. And be like, hey, did you ever drive this car? Did you ever live on this address? Whatever. and they looked at one address and went, I've never lived there. At least not that I can remember. And it turns out it was an address that they lived at for, maybe a month in an interim thing. Mm-hmm. And they're like, why is it even in there? Why is that the verification question? But that's what kicked them out of being able to get into stuff.
Oh yeah, and that's it's getting like anything. Your banking and system, the secondary authentication methods.
Yeah.
Some are using third, 3 and 4 of them. But yes, it's hard to write stuff down, which they don't recommend doing.
Right.
But you just have to keep, like replacing it and redoing a new password and stuff. But if you have the account, that's great because we can reset passwords. Mm-hmm. So if you're like, yes, I have an account on there with login.gov, I can't remember my password, we can reset that. But once again, that email has to be linked to your phone.
Right.
So a lot of people are like, well, it's at home at my tablet. Ugh.
Right.
And
we need to get logged into it on your phone. Let's do it.
Yeah. So it's situational, and but there's been a lot of debates lately about Social Security. Because with Social Security, we don't know when we should take it. Mm-hmm. Right. So a lot of people always tell me if they're born 1960 or later, I'm like, when are you turning it on? They're like 67. Why? Well,
that's the max, right?
That's my full retirement.
Right.
I'm like, yeah. Okay. And then, so it all depends if you're married, if you're not married, if you're below the income limits, if you're still working, absolutely. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
But what a lot of people don't know and what they don't teach us is Social Security. If we have a husband and wife, they're both retired, not working. And like whoever, we want the widowed spouse test. We want one larger than the other one, mm-hmm. right? So if someone passes away, we lose the lower of the two. But if you're both waiting till 67, why wouldn't we turn the lower one on? Because if one of them pass away,
right,
the lower one's gone. So it's kind of a no-brainer, and these are just questions that I would be asking advisors. Be like, hey, so what's the plan for Social Security? Why do we wait for this? Or just we need to ask more questions about Social Security because we're not guaranteed tomorrow. That's why the government says, hey, look, at 70, how much you'll get? Well, that's great. You get a lot more. But what are we missing? Like how much are we missing to wait for that?
Because heaven forbid, you only go another 2, 3, 4 years after 70. Whereas if you would have turned it on at 65, 64, you could have had that many more years.
Yep, and that's what a lot of people that have the lower Social Security is like. Well, yeah, it's only $800. It's like that's $10,000 a year. That's $9,600.
Right.
It's like, why wouldn't we take that?
Yeah, that could be your car payment. That could be house payment for some people. That could be
vacation fund.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, because we know, and that's what we kind of have to balance and stuff. And I'm not saying if it's part of your income plan, it's on paper. This is what we're doing. Perfect. All right. We have a plan at least. But a lot of times I just hear like people say like 67, well, that's when I get, the 100% of my benefit, which is true. Mm-hmm. But the lower of the two, it's like, if that one makes sense, we turn it on because if one of them pass away, it's gone. And we never got to collect that.
Right.
And the government's held our money long enough. So it's situational for everyone. Like that's why if you're a widowed spouse, you have different rules. If you're a single, and never been married, well, yes, that is our mini pension basically. So that might make sense. So it's there. What your neighbors did, what your brother or sister did, that's different than you, but it's something we should talk about. Social Security is so unique. And it's just less we have to pull from retirement assets.
Right. Now, with everything you guys got going on with the open enrollment period, obviously you're probably not having nearly as many conversations about Social Security and as many conversations about getting people signed up for that. I know we've been trying to call out the people and saying, hey, if you're my 1960 babies, you need to be calling in. Mm-hmm. Are you still finding time to fit a few of those in?
Well, yeah, and it's actually I'm already into my 1961ers.
Oh boy, yeah, that's right.
Yes, if you're in January, if you were born in January in 1961, this is time to start signing up for Medicare. And if you're working, that's fine, but we have to make sure that do we sign up for Part A or do we have to sign up for A and B? Depending on who our employer is, or if we're on our spouse's insurance. So there's many different situations, but yes, it's we are getting some time in because we're doing a lot of fall reviews with our retiree clients. So if it makes sense, we do it. And a lot of people have, like I met him in June. I'm like, hey, meet me in October. We'll sign you up for February Social Security, because Social Security I could sign you up 4 months early. 3 months for Medicare, 4 months for Social Security.
Because why have consistency there?
That's why I don't understand. Like, if we could give the government more time, it's like, why not 6 months?
Right.
You know, it's.
Give them plenty of time to get their ducks in a row and have no problems.
But this is the time, and it's not because of the shutdown. It's not because of the budget cuts. This time of year, it just takes longer because everyone's retired. Typically retires towards the end of the year. Everyone goes on Social Security. Everyone goes on Medicare. So they are swamped.
Right.
Right. And who knows? Maybe the budget cuts and stuff are making it worse. I haven't seen that yet.
Right.
But it is a delayed process regardless of the year we're in or the administration or anything like that. But so that's why we want to get you in soon. So if you are going on Social Security, for February, yes, we should be talking.
Right.
And if we want to have conversations about that, like obviously check with your advisor, make sure that, what's the game plan. But I just feel like a lot of people just cliche, full retirement, 67, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Statistically, that's when you get the most money. Well, the only variable we can't count on is life expectancy.
Right.
We have no idea what is the best option. I mean, yes, we can, we have these AI programs and algorithms say, look, it would be this. Well, yeah, that's if you live to X date.
Right.
Well, we don't know that. So, I mean, I'd rather have the money now, so, like anyone, right?
Right.
But we have to debate that, and it's there isn't a right answer because we don't have the crystal ball. But if it makes sense, we do it. And that's kind of I like to play devil's advocate a little bit on that because there isn't a right answer. But for the lower of the two, absolutely, no brainer. But if you're going to go get a full-time job, we are not turning Social Security on. So situational, but I've been dealing a lot with that lately. Where just they come in, they're like 67. I'm like, why? Because I know exactly it's their full retirement, but we just got to see what makes the most sense for you and your income plan, or if you're on the marketplace insurance, like we're going on Social Security, we're going to pay a lot more for insurance. Maybe we don't do it then.
Right.
So that's why if you just give us a call at 920-887-0580, Jill is standing by. And we can schedule an appointment, just kind of go over things, or and see what's best for you.
Now you mentioned the marketplace insurance. Now that window for enrollment is different. That's the November 1st to December 15th window, right?
Oh, I'm dreading that.
And that's also that time frame where you've got a nice little overlap between the two different options that are there. So you're going to be seeing even more people reaching out to you to try and get that done. Explain to people again, like why you would marketplace as opposed to, once you reach Medicare age, you got to go Medicare.
Correct.
So that marketplace is really for those people who are in that window where maybe they're retired, no group insurance through work, but they're not old enough for Medicare.
Yep, or work for self-employed, small business that doesn't have group insurance. That would be a situation. But yeah, if you're basically, it's for people 64 and under.
Right. You're bridging that gap essentially.
Yep.
And that, we've also talked about things like COBRA, which is meant to help bridge the gap, but that's only an 18 month.
Yep. So that's a federal law where you can have a continuation of coverage for you or your spouse or dependents up to 18 months. You're allowed to have the continuation, basically the same plan.
Right.
But you're paying the full boat.
Right.
So, but we laugh at COBRA numbers, but now people are like, well, with marketplace being, outrageous, and maybe because that's the scary part about November 1st is the double whammy effect, because insurance companies are saying, well, if we're not getting more tax credits, then we're raising our premiums.
Right.
Yikes. So with the tax credits going down 15 to 20%, and then potentially the premiums of the actual insurance going up 15 to 20%, it could be an interesting year.
Yeah, it's going to look like a 30% increase in what you're putting out.
I'm hoping not, maybe 40. And that's why that's the nervous. I felt so good about, drug plans. There's only 10 of them. There was 14 last year or this year. 6 of them are zero. A lot of people are just staying on their plans. The Advantage plans, not a lot of changes. People are happy with it. They're staying on it. So I felt like, we're good.
I'm going to say, leading into the last couple of weeks, you seem to be of high spirits about it all, but
yes.
There's a lot up in the air right now.
Yep. Blood pressure's still high. So yeah, we'll have to see, but there's still going to be tax credits, and it's just I'm scared for 2 reasons. One, what is the threshold? Is it going to be 70,000, 80,000, 90,000? And then 2, the gray area. So the gray area are people like that are just above the Badger Care or Medicaid level,
Right.
but they're just below the poverty level for federal. So our federal poverty level is a little bit higher than our
Right.
Badger Care. So you kind of fall, like if I fill out an application for on the marketplace and I put your income in, it'll kick you to Badger Care. So then you have to apply for Badger Care. They'll start
Right.
sending you information. They apply for Badger Care. Then they're like, no, you make too much money.
Right. So they kick you back to the marketplace, which just a circle.
Yes, and it's so much time. You know, people are like, I need insurance.
Right.
And I totally agree. So that's where sometimes we almost have to like boost your income a little bit on the federal just to make sure. And it's just to make sure you can get on a plan. But like, yes, you will be able to have good insurance, you know, at that, you know, because it's all about the income bracket you're at.
Right.
So, but yeah, those two thresholds, the lowest part and the highest part, like what are we at? What are we working with? You know, and if we are working with our advisors, like, you know, is there Roth accounts we can pull out of? That's tax-free income.
Right.
You know, because it all depends. If you pull out of an IRA, 401k, 403b, that's taxable.
Right.
Uncle Sam hasn't seen taxes on that yet.
Nope. And he wants it.
So that counts, you know. So people are like, oh, I just got my Social Security and I got my wife's Social Security. Perfect. And they give me that number. And then I'm like, well, are you taking an IRA withdrawal? You know, oh, well, what? That counts? Absolutely. Everything counts. If you get rental, you have a apartment or farmland,
Right.
that counts. That's income. So that's for health insurance.
Right.
You know, because like on taxes, you can, you know, deduct things and stuff like that, but they want gross amounts. So people are like, well, what's your pension? And they look at their bank statement. I'm like, well, that's what goes into your bank.
Right.
What is the gross amount of it? Not what's in our bank account, which is another frustrating part.
Right.
So, but we want to be spot on, and nothing is set in stone. So when we sign you up for the marketplace, moving into next year, if you call me in March and say, hey, furnace went out, I had to pull 10,000, we raise your income 10,000. And then it adjusts your premiums moving forward.
Okay. So it'll adjust kind of in real time then for you.
Yeah, because it'll lessen the blow. Because if we do nothing, it gets rectified at tax time.
And that's the last thing we want is a tax bill at tax time. No,
Well,
probably.
It's going to happen regardless.
Right.
You know, so whether it's during the year or whether it's at the end of the year, but that's the thing. Uncle Sam's going to get his money, and there's nothing we can do to stop that. But at the same time, it's not a big, you know, like you're not kicked off the plan. You're not penalized. The IRS isn't showing up at your door. It's just, yeah, if you should have been paying $50 a month more, you're going to owe $600 at the end of the year. If you overpaid $50 a month, you'll get $600 back on your tax return. So it works both ways. So we want to be close, but it's not like people bring their tax returns and everything.
Right.
And it's like, well, if this is going to be exactly what you had for next year, then yeah, that's good. But a lot of times they had working wages on it. They're not working anymore. So we just want to be close so we don't, you know, we don't have to go to the penny. But some people do like that. And some people like to give themselves a buffer. They'll actually put $5,000 more than their income just because taxes scare them, just like they scare me.
Right. Rather pay a little bit more now and get a little back later.
Yep.
How do you keep all of this in?
I
mean, I talk to you every week, and I try and pick up little bits of it as we go. And I still sit back and say, like, my God, the amount of training and ongoing learning you guys must have to go through.
Yeah, it's a lot of the continuing education, right? We have to do so many credits, you know, to keep our licenses and stuff for financial and also the health insurance. So yeah, it is a lot. And then what throws the biggest curveball is the government. You know, because they're like, well, we made a new rule.
We heard that a lot lately.
Yeah, but true. But it's like, okay, so they made a rule. They're going to change something in Medicare, change something with the marketplace. Perfect. And then that doesn't happen for 2 more years.
Right.
You know, so it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. This is happening. So that is the biggest change where it's like, you know, like where Medicare started approving acupuncture. Perfect. Awesome. But then, you know, there's always disclaimers. Lower back only. Oh,
right.
Okay. You know, a lot of people do it for like migraines or something. Nope, that doesn't count.
Right.
Or a big thing like a couple years ago, they're like, Medicare is covering all vaccinations now. Yes.
Great.
Makes my life so much easier. Well, disclaimer again, they're like, well, we'll cover it if you get it at a pharmacy through your drug plan, not through the health insurance.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay. So
a lot of pharmacies only do certain vaccinations. They won't do like all of them sometimes.
Pharmacies, they do the majority of
Right.
them. So, but yeah, like there's only certain vaccines they'll cover at the doctor's office, like the pneumococcal, COVID, flu. But like then there's ones which we call Part D vaccines, which is run through your drug plan or your Advantage plan at a pharmacy. Because what happens is like say you want the shingles shot.
Right.
If you get it at a doctor's office, Medicare is going to deny that claim because it was not a covered service.
Right.
And then it's just a headache.
Right.
You know, but if you got it at the pharmacy, it's run through your drug plan and you're good to go. Yes. So
That's
like
so crazy.
So them saying like, yeah, we cover vaccines. I was like, oh, you know, and I it happens to me all the time. You know, I'm like, oh, that's gonna make my life a lot easier. And it's like, well, kind of. It's so that's why I tell people get everything at the pharmacy.
Right.
It's and then they'll pick the cards they need. Are they going to bill it to Medicare? Are they going to bill it to your drug plan? But regardless, we're not having denied services for it.
Right.
So that's just words of advice for vaccines, but that's a whole nother ball game. So yeah, who knows what's going to happen with the next change? But it's like, oh yeah, that's right. 2 years ago they did decide to do that, and so it's even with the Inflation Reduction Act. January 1st of 25, they said you can't spend more than $2,000 on medications.
Right.
Perfect. But that one actually was true. But then there was a disclaimer. They're like, well, because they were saying like your max out of pocket. What comes out of your pocket? $2,000. That's it.
Right.
Well, they don't count premiums. They don't count your drug premiums. It's like, oh, so it's just deductible. It's just co-pays. So that's why I think this year or for next year, a lot of the plans went to $0.
Right.
Because so that it's just all these things where they make the changes and then they quick throw us into the, you have 7 weeks, don't screw it up. And we're picking plans for these people. And by the knowledge that we were given and, the continuing education, and then all of a sudden they kind of just make changes.
Because why not?
So but that's why, it's you don't have to memorize this stuff. This is for nerds like us. Like, just give us a call at 920-887-0580 and we'll get through this 7 weeks together.
Absolutely. How often do you see that, if the government says we're making this big change, but it's coming in 2 years, do you see the drug plans and the medical plans already adjusting to it before it even goes into effect?
Absolutely happens right away. They know what's happening.
Right.
Yeah, so it's, just like last year, the drug companies, not drug companies, the drug plan companies, they started not paying commissions to agents. Because you can get penalized if you don't have credible prescription drug coverage.
Right.
So they don't really need agents. They're like, go on the website and pick one.
Right.
Which that's almost like the marketplace. Yeah, just pick a plan. There's 67 in our area. And it's like for people that don't know insurance, like that's a lot.
Right.
But so like they are adapting and adjusting because they know what's coming. And that's usually what happens is like, oh, we might be losing money or have to pay because what happens is after $2,000, these drug plan companies, they got to start paying.
Right.
They're paying the full boat. After you spend $2,000, you go to the pharmacy and pick up your medication that's really expensive, and it's $0. So they knew they would have to pay. So they're going to start trimming the fat.
Right.
And I guess we're the fat ones.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah.
Not a lot of time left in the show. So I want to remind people again how they can find you guys. You're over at the Heritage Shopping Mall right here, just down the street. Phone number again, 920-887-0580. Give a call. Obviously busy time, so patience when you call.
Yes.
You're going to get your call answered, you're going to get talked to, and they're going to find a way to fit you in. But patience and understanding goes a long way. Hours right now, Monday through Friday, 9 to noon, and then 1 to 5. And as we've said, and I think I'm going to make a point of mentioning this every show. That login.gov. Get that figured out as soon as possible. That's going to save everybody a lot of headaches.
Yes. And we can get stuff done.
Yes, and that's the key thing is you want to get stuff done because if you got those half-hour appointments now that you're trying to make happen, you want them to be productive.
Oh, absolutely.
And they definitely will be. Matt, always a pleasure having you on the show.
Yes, it'll be a journey next week probably also.
Yeah.
I'll vent to Wade.
Yeah. Make sure you lay it on thick for him because I think he misses doing this show from time to time, and
Okay.
I don't want him to feel like he's missing out too much. But I guess the last thing we gotta tell people is when you want to do Medicare, or if you want to look at your Affordable Care Act plans, or you want to look at your drug plans, or if you want to retire.
Call Heiar.
This has been a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed on the program are solely that of Heiar Insurance, not necessarily WBEV or Good Karma Brands.